you're broken, you're broken, you're broken. Oh, hello there. Welcome to Driven It Tinker Time. Now, you might be thinking, what's going on? There's a space in the garage. There is something on a little workmate over there. I've got things hanging off the ceiling. I'll tell you after this. I call this lot the birdie fleet of broken dreams, and I tell you, at the moment, it's a big crock of broken dreams. The Douglas Special, he's off the road at the moment, got a little bit of an oil leak, got something very, very exciting happening, and it is happening. I contacted my friend Simon Harris from the Guild of Motoring Writers, and he said, yes, you're coming, marvellous, more of that as and when it happens. However, the X19 is off the road, needs some tyres. Thankfully, yesterday, might have found a supplier of decent tyres, because you don't want to put on the back of that, because career off the road. However, it's his lordship, which is what this is. This is his belly pan that I've had fitted to him for 15 years. Bear in mind, I've had him 18, because when I bought him, didn't have one. Found one on the forum or group, whatever it is, had it, brilliant, whacked it on, said, at some point, I'll take it off and I'll strip it down and I'll paint it. I had the perfect opportunity to take it off again and strip it down and paint it, because on my workmate, I have an old brake servo. An old brake servo that's gone a bit, because driving down to Dover, the brakes went a bit, ooh, and you don't really want your brakes to go, ooh, when you're driving towards the sea, because you end up in the sea. Actually, you don't, because by the time you've gone through passport control and ticket control, you've lost all your speed, and, you know, you don't end up in the sea. No, I'm making jokes. Oh, fucking hell, I'm going to give up my day job. I'm not, don't worry. So I've had to fit a new brake servo to Barry. And while I was there, fitted a new master cylinder and had to make a new brake pipe because I snapped the old one. But I was like, what has gone wrong with his brake servo? And I'll tell you now. I don't know. That is the big question. I don't quite know what has gone wrong with the brake servo, because we don't. However, I am armed with a grinder, and I've got some ear defenders, and I've got some specs. So do you know what we're going to do? Cut it open, because you know my motto, if it's broken, cut it open. And we're going to have a look inside. Now, I can't quite see, because there's a diaphragm. We know, let's be honest with you, in the brake servo there's a diaphragm. Now, I'm not sure how it attaches, and I can't quite get my finger in there to find out where it all is, but I know there's a big massive spring. So if I cut around some of this to get the spring out to then look more into it, we will find out what's gone on, because it does sound a bit squishy, and I'll cut to what it sounds like now. Right, change of disc. We will start again. Oh, hang on. No, did that bit wrong. Right, down, tighten.
Smoky in there.
Right, let's get some flat-bladed screwdrivers. Now, it's very, very smoky, and it'll be very, very hot, and I have not got gloves on. You should really have gloves on, but live on the edge. Oh, now, hang on. What is that? Oh, what is that on? See, as I say, I don't know what is inside this, so bear with. I need to get a torch. I did look in here, and I couldn't really see. I can't really see this box thing here. There's a reinforced. It's like, feels like it looks like it's reinforced, but not sure why. Well, we know why. Bloody mounted a bloody brake master, which then takes all the shove of your foot. But, okay, right, let me take these off for a moment. Douglas, hold those. No, I'm cautious. Oh, hang on. He says with glasses on, he can't fucking see. Oh, no, that's what that is. It's the spring mount. Look, it's coming out now. It's amazing what happens when you look. He says, fucking idiot. Pop that on the floor in case you drop it. Smash your bloody, what are these things called? Cutting discs. Right, so that is just, that's the spring. There we go. So that's the base of the spring. Now, this is where it pings off and smacks me in the face and I end up in A&E. Fucking idiot. And then everyone goes, hey, you're a fucking idiot, you should have done it this way, you should have done it that way. But you're not here, are you? It's me. Oh, it does look like someone's got diarrhea in here. But interesting, because where I was about to cut, I would have actually have cut in the wrong place and then fucked it up, which is what we don't want to do. We can see more. You can't, I can. Oh, right, okay, this is so much fun. This really is fun. I like doing this. As I say, if it's broken, cut it open. There we go, look at that. Right. Now then. So, we have got to be careful where I cut, so it's just there that we need to cut. Glasses. Where's this other glasses? I had my glasses. Oh, I'm going to do Daisy Steiner. My glasses. Where are my glasses? Oh, I've lost them. I've lost my glasses. How stupid. You're a fucking idiot. They're on my head. Right, this is better. Now, if we look here, which way? That way, that way, that way. Here, there's a hole, and down here there is a hole. So obviously, when this thing is under suck from the manifold, it has to have some escape somewhere, which is what that's for. So when I was blowing into this, that's where the air was coming through, and somehow it was actually coming through the diaphragm as well. But that was one part where it possibly was coming through, because here, that looks like a hole. I'm going to take that apart. I'll do that off camera and I'll show you if there is anything there, because that's all part of that. But I'm glad I found the split in the diaphragm. So there really was a split in the diaphragm. So this really was absolute bollocks. It's toast, as they say. But I'm going to take this off and I'm going to find out what goes on in here. But that must be for that, because when I push that away, yeah, it comes away from the back part there. Oh, I wonder if that's why it's shaped like this. I wonder if there's two more holes here. Oh, I'm going to chance it. Right, there isn't. No, it's only that one. Oh, hang on, would hope I found the right space. No, ugh, it's disgusting. No, right, so there is no hole here or here. It's just that top and bottom, which then pull it away from that. Right, we are going to take this apart off camera and I'll come back. GoPro, stop recording. Right, now, I didn't do this on camera because it was really quite boring, but it's just basically remove a little circlip and pull off this rubber dust boot, because that's all that really, oh God, it's dropping puddles of poo everywhere, just seems to cover this little seal. So obviously that was to sort of take away, it will keep it clean, but also any air pressure disappears and gets dissipated into the front wheel arch. However, what I said about those two holes was actually a lie, because behind here there is part of more of a diaphragm. So we're going to push this on the floor and see if I can, look, we can push more out. So look, there is the there is the diaphragm, and you can see there it is. That is the diaphragm. So obviously those holes there are when it, oh God, now I can't bloody get it back in. No, I really can't. It's disgusting. There we go. So when it comes back in here, those holes just help release the air, because that then here is really, really tight. So let's have a look and think, how do these things work? Well, it's quite obvious. Air for your manifold sits into, let me get the other part. Oh, it's all disgusting. Right, so this is the end. And that goes off to your manifold. So gets sucked. So air gets sucked through that, and then it sits in here, gently sucking away, but not strong enough to pull this spring to. It's not really a strong spring. It's amazing actually how easy that is. That is actually really, really not very hard at all. And you think the amount of suck from your manifolds, particularly if you're at high speed, you sort of think if that spring goes wonky at high speed, you could slam on your brakes. However, it doesn't, which is handy. So it sucks, and then when you push your foot on the brake pedal, it just helps suck that in, which helps with your brakes. So it's actually a very, very simple system when it works. When it's got a leak and then it pisses off air out through either its welds or through here, because remember, this bit here, sorry, I've missed that, through here, through the welds or through here, because that's not exactly airtight. It's sealed, but not airtight. See, if that was airtight, I really wouldn't be able to twist that around. And actually, when I twist that around, oh, look at that, when you twist it around, twist that, the diaphragm itself doesn't move. So that means we might be able to push it through, shall we? No, we can't. Why is that all twisty then? Ah, so why is that holding on? I know what we're going to do. Can I? Ow, ow, watch out, sharp metal. No, I can't. Oh, I was just going to have, hang on. Just going to have a look, see if I can pull that off. That is really quite a tough old bit of rubber. Bear in mind it's got a split in it, so it's all contaminated and ruined. Ah, there we go. Is that going to come through? No, I'll have to cut that to get that bit off. But that is what is inside your Ujimi flip brake servo. Or something that's just, oh God, this is disgusting. This really is disgusting. It honestly looks like the inside of a bloody sewer. But that is inside a thingy. Yeah, do you know, it's even rotten inside. It's absolutely disgusting. But yeah, it's something quite simple really. £130 I think the new servo was from Cool Air. Or 120 quid or something like that. But yeah, that is it. That's inside your servo. I also wanted to have a look inside, so I thought I'd bring you along for the ride and see what's what really. But yeah, that is absolutely gross. Ugh, that is gross. Look at the state. Oh, that hand. Look at that hand. That is disgusting. So anyway, I'm going to throw this all away now because I don't really need it. I'm going to keep the spring because that spring is quite pretty, and I'm sure at some point I will find a use for it. What about the cup? Oh yeah, that was the cup. That's what I meant to show you, didn't I? Is it this spring? Is it that way or that way? What was that way? That's it. It was that way. So that's where the spring sits, in this reinforced part. Otherwise, of course, yes, it would flex that out, wouldn't it? So that sits there, and that is when you push. Oh yeah, that's the point. I can tell you. So when you push and servo, because it's the spring that pushes it back, because otherwise you're relying on literally the hydraulic pressure to try and push it back, and then you're also relying on any springs on your pedals to bring it back, which when they're under pressure, when they're under a suck, then of course it's not really going to do it, is it? It's just going to stay powered up. So that is actually quite useful. But can you imagine if that had gone? If that had snapped instead of the diaphragm, that would have slammed on my brakes and I wouldn't have got them off. Wow, aren't braking systems clever? Sometimes. Anyway, that's it really. I don't think there's much else to do. I've got a thorn in my finger from gardening yesterday and it still bloody hurts. It does hurt. I've had that before and I've gone septic and gone pussy and horrible. Anyway, gardening. Yeah, they say it's good for your health. Not sometimes your physical health. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I have actually enjoyed that. I don't know how I'm going to edit this together, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. Oh, well, there we go. Anyway, where did you go? Take care. See you soon. GoPro, stop recording. Now, I have just taken that thing off, this rubber boot, which I will go through, I think, what it does, because it's always puzzled me, this rubber boot with this little breathy tube, because I've never seen it on a normal brake servo before, but there is possibly a reason why. Because the brake servos on a T2, they sit outside underneath. A normal brake servo on your normal little hatchback, say a Golf Mark II, that sits through the bulkhead. So of course it doesn't need all this protective dust shield. So that is all that does. That just sits over there with a little ring that just keeps it all together. And I think what that does, because it has to get, because it moves up in and out, and it's a dust boot. I think this must be as a vent. And someone did say it's a vent, and I was like, well, what does it vent? Now I know, it just vents the air pressure that gets here, because it's a small amount, it's possibly a small amount of pressure, but it's got to vent. Otherwise, it just goes and will then fracture and split the dust seal. So, and it has done a really good job, because as we look here, it's very, very clean. Now that thing has done 150,000 miles in 49 years. So do you know what? Good old quality Volkswagen parts. I'm going to keep this, and I'll tell you why, because the one that's on it isn't a genuine Volkswagen part. So obviously VW don't sell parts for these anymore. But just in case the new one splits, because we have had this, I'll tell you now, drive shaft boots. Now I have upgraded, not on Barry because I haven't needed them yet, but I fitted drive shafts on these things before, and literally within a year or so, the boots are splitting because the rubber is shit. Or it's just not designed for what it should be. And you sort of, sometimes these people that sell parts really should be accountable for the crap that they're having. But then sometimes they don't even know what the crap they're selling until we, the consumer, buy it and just go, by the way, this is dog shit. I mean, Cool Air, who I use, in Kent, we did have a gear stick for one van that came from China. It was made with the Chinium metal, whatever I've got in my car, made with that lovely Chinium metal. However, it was a bit, and we had 3 that snapped, and in the end, they took it off the shelf. Anyway, I'm rambling. So, how does a brake servo work? Well, first of all, we have this. So I'm going to take the spring out for the moment. There's a reason why that spring is there, and I'll show you why. So that is how it sort of sits, not with angle grinder cuts. So air from here gets sucked out from your manifold. Now, bear in mind, your manifold pressure does alter, because if you're driving really, really fast, you've got lots of air going in, a slightly bigger suck, then you'll be surprised that the sort of difference is not great, but it's enough. However, so we have this spring. So that is what that is. I was thinking it was a base plate for mounting the master to stop it flexing. Possibly not. It's possibly more for the spring, because this spring, though not heavy, and really isn't that strong, it's strong enough to push my fingers back, it needs the support, otherwise it'll just slide off, or it just literally starts flexing metal. Although, to be honest with you, that is good thick metal. So that then sits on your, so I'm going to touch the camera because I can't quite see where it is. So that sits in there on your diaphragm. So that is always under tension. Cool, fuck me. Do you know what I said? When I said, oh, it's not very strong spring. When that is under pressure here, which, yeah, that is what, about a few inches. So that spring, nothing here, and nothing there, that is really, oh, fuck me, that is quite, actually, that is quite strong. Under tension, that is really, really quite strong. So that'll be why it pushes it back. So that spring is under pressure, air going, sucking. So this is constantly at, I think they call it negative pressure because it's air coming out. So it's constantly being tried to be pulled inwards. So it's constantly, your car is constantly trying to suck this in and slam on your brakes. So you can imagine if that spring was to go twing, like a lot of shock absorber springs do and stuff, you'd end up with your brakes being slammed on the moment you start the car up. So always bear that in mind. If your brakes suddenly go on and you can't move your car, just think, has the spring gone in the servo? I've never heard of a spring going in a servo, but hey, I've never seen a diaphragm split in one, so, you know, anything's possible. Now, so that sucks. So when you're literally putting on your brakes, push that, and of course it then pushes that in, which assists the brakes. You haven't got such a heavy pedal, it's a lighter pedal. Now, I did discover, I think I've already said it, but I'm going to say it now. There's these 2 holes, and I thought these 2 holes slammed up against this metal. They don't, because I was an idiot. Because when I pushed this further, which I hadn't at first, I have discovered, which now I can't. Oh, I can't do it. Hang on. Now I can. Amazing what a bit of brute force does. You can see more of the rubber diaphragm. So that diaphragm is constantly stuck in around the edges of the servo. And so it's constantly sucked. So I've got a feeling those 2 holes, when that returns to its original position, it has to go back through quite tightness. So you can imagine if that hasn't got air to come out, that's constantly then stuck here when it needs to be here. So it does go back quite a fair old way. I mean, to be honest with you, yes, if you hit the brakes, your servo is never going to push it out that far anyway. Let's be honest. Because if it does, it means your servo has split in half like we've got here. So that then probably only sits about, we can only sit about there. That's probably as far as it would come out anyway. So it doesn't really go, it probably only goes, actually, I'm going to backtrack. I think this will only go round about there anyway, because that is a lot of pedal, just that there. You might think it's not a lot, but that there, what you can see from sticking out there to about there, that's quite a lot of pedal on one of these. So that there, I don't quite know the measurements. I've got my tape measure with me, but probably an inch or 2 inches, which if you look at your brake pedal, you hit your brake pedal, and I know people are sitting there going, oh, 2 inches isn't a lot. You hit your brake pedal, travel it down 2 inches, and you'll sort of go, oh, that's quite a lot. I mean, it's not that quite like a Citroen hydraulic, which is like literally a little button, you breathe on it, and you go, "Arr!" and you get your brakes slammed on. So yeah, that there is all that is. So yeah, that split, which has now become more apparent, is what was causing me the problem. So obviously that split is leaking through here, because this isn't airtight. It doesn't need to be airtight here, because it is all caught around its diaphragm. So there is actually no air. Past this part, there is no air here, but there is some pressure. Maybe that's what else that does, because it doesn't quite seal. It just helps with the pressure relief. Yeah, it must be a pressure relief thing. But yeah, anyway, I hope that sort of made sense. I'm going to edit, I'm not going to throw this away just yet. I'm going to edit this and see if I can understand what I've bloody well said. And yeah, take it from. So, I hope you got something from that. I literally, the moment it had to come off, I was like, I am cutting it open. Because remember, if it's broken, cut it open. To have a look inside. Now, I did have an idea of what was inside a servo. I've seen the schematic of what they are. I think the Haynes manual has got a schematic, and it just says base plate, a bit of rubber, rods. But I actually want to see inside it myself, because I want to know why that one's failed. What caused it to fail? And now I know what caused it to go and sound like it had diarrhea. Just that tiny little split caused it. What that other part for a T2 brake servo is all about, that's another thing I wanted to know. I wanted to know what, because no one's actually really been able to tell me it's this. It is literally just a thing to stop air building up, I suppose. But now I know. But yeah, so I hope you got something from that. Yeah, and we'll see what else I break, what else we can take apart. Anyway, mind you go, take care. We will see you soon. I know, bloody state of it, you are filthy, I need to wash you. It down, I will paint it. I had a perfect opportunity to explain. No, fucking hell, explain. Ugh. I don't need to explain, do I? Got itch. Fucking wet nose like a dog, scratching like I've got fleas. Woof. So, I've got runny nose. It's hay fever season. See, all through winter I was going, I've got runny nose like a dog. Because it's cold, now I've got runny nose because it's hay fever season. And the stuff I use up my nose, it leaves horrible film up my nose. And sometimes I get this bogey ledge, and it just leaves horrible thing up my nose. Like, oh. So if you see me going, it's because I'm just paranoid. There's stuff on my nose. Anyway, I wanted to, sorry, I've got infected finger from doing some gardening. I know, right? They say, oh, gardening's really, really good for your health. Not your physical health, to be honest with you, sometimes, because sometimes you end up with thorns in your finger that end up going a bit pusty when you squeeze them. You go, ooh, that's a bit bad. Last night I had to get my compass that I've had from school, sterilise it in a needle, stick it in a bit of Dettol, dig it out. It was the tiniest, tiniest speck of thorn. Caused my finger to go, ooh, and it still hurts. That was last night. And it is, when I squeeze it, it looks like a car bunker, like you've got a bulge in your tyre. Anyway, I digress. It's a rubber diaphragm that stops it losing oil or air. Oil, you fucking twat. GoPro, stop recording.